But let's talk to Harold. This is we've been waiting all morning to find out about this.
Yes.
But back in 1860, if you're running around the nude, that wouldn't go down very well. Very conservative.
Especially on days like today.
Today they run around the nude and people go, oh, I run around the nude. They don't give a stuff.
Do you do that?
No, of course not. I've got responsibilities, but,
Okay.
you know, do you?
Oh, no. No.
Let's talk to Harold and get
Only at the beach, and then Greenpeace will ride to try and roll me back in.
Get let's find out who this nudie is. G'day there, Harold.
Yeah, good morning, Danny. I knew you'd be looking forward to this story.
Can't believe this is... Are you listening, Sophie and Rebecca? Yeah, and because we have the arc. People can get on the website, historyouthere.com, and do their arc for us, whatever they want to do it. Dressed up as a bird, whatever.
Well, he's dressed up differently back in this story 160 something years ago.
Well, I tell you what, if he was doing it today here in Ipswich, it'd be what you'd call a dried arrangement. Keep going.
Okay, it was on Saturday, the 23rd of December, 1860.
Right.
The Ipswich police received information of a madman, a maniac, whose name was William Carroll Curl, but he called himself King William. Now, King William was wandering around the village of Jeebrapilly. That's just out past Amberley today. And he was in a state of nudity. In the local Indigenous language, of course, Jeebrapilly means flying squirrel gully, but I don't know if that's relevant. Now, the two constables were sent after him. They followed him for 2 days, chasing him from Worrell Creek to Walloon, then to Kieran Walsh's place on the Drayton Road. Now, Walsh at the time had not been long out of jail after having served 3 years hard labour for cattle stealing. But anyway, the nude chase continued on from Kieran's place, and it went for 2 days and didn't end until the morning of the 3rd day, when the police caught up with King William in West Ipswich, which back then was called Little Ipswich. Again, I don't know if that's relevant, but King William went quietly enough into town with the constables, who, along the road, met Ipswich's Chief Constable Quinn just near St Paul's Church. That's when King William walked up to Chief Constable Quinn and handed him a note.
Right.
On the note was written advice that the Chief Constable and all his men were to go to 3 Mile Creek and search for the bodies of 2 young women who had been murdered. One of them, a daughter of a magistrate, and she was described as either an English woman or an Irish woman or a French woman, and that she had an immense amount of money in her possession. Now, the letter was actually a ruse by King William designed to entice all of Ipswich's policemen to gallop off in the direction of 3 Mile Creek, and so leaving King William to continue on nude. But the police saw right through it, and Chief Constable Quinn tried a ruse of his own. He told King William that he should actually hand-deliver his note to the house just over there that he pointed to, where the real Chief Constable lived. Now, the house was really the Ipswich lockup, but King William saw through the trick himself, and so Constable Stevens and Constable Smythe were required to forcibly take him into custody. But King William suddenly pulled a razor from somewhere on his person, they couldn't work out where, and he cut the back of Constable Stevens' wrist and broke the forefinger and cut some of the sinews on Constable Smythe's wrist. He ran towards Little Ipswich with nothing but the razor, and was pursued by all the policemen that Ipswich had to offer. Eventually, with Sergeant Carson and Chief Constable Quinn also on the scene, they cornered him. While the constables were getting King William down, he still managed to inflict a frightful gash on Sergeant Carson's wrist.
In the nude?
In the nude, yeah. Cut the wrist of both Constable Smythe and Constable Stevens, broke Constable Stevens' finger, and slightly wounded Constable Dunn, besides severely wounding Sergeant Carson with a rock in the head. Now, eventually, it took all of Ipswich's policemen to tie King William to a dray, and that's how they finally brought him to the watch house, tied down in the dray.
Wow.
Now, all the policemen in this nude fracas achieved some sort of notoriety, as you could imagine. For example, Chief Constable Edward Quinn rose to fame by leading the Ipswich gold escorts from the Tulloom diggings. Now, that included when he brought down more than 437 ounces on a single ride and reported that he saw in the hands of diggers upwards of 2,000 ounces. Now, this is just outside of Ipswich towards Warwick. That amount would be worth around $6 million today.
Wow.
Then there was Constable Jesse Stevens. Now, these are guys who were injured in this fracas, of course. For many years, Constable Stevens was in charge of the Little Ipswich lockup. But for 9 days, he suffered from dysentery before he died an exhausted man. And there was Constable James Dunn. Now, Constable Dunn claimed all of the £100 reward for the apprehension of Ipswich's own bushranger, Bill Jenkins, just the following year. But King William, or as his mother called him, William Carroll Curl, but Danny, you and I now know him as Ipswich's great nude maniac of 1860. Yeah, he entirely disappeared from history. I haven't been able to find hide nor hair of him other than this story. Now, the history disappears, but there's some stories like this, Danny, you just got to highlight because the whole of the Ipswich police just were absolutely needed to get King William to put his pants on.
There's a bloke walking up the main street here at Brisbane Street, Ipswich at the moment, naked. You're promoting this. Come on, mate. And it's...
No, I'm not at all. This is 1860, 163 years ago, so hopefully these types of things in the past, but hey, Danny, you got to learn from your past to go forward, don't you?
Yeah, so the big nude maniac of 1860 here in Ipswich could have been one of the councillors for all we know. How do we get the copy of this and all these other great stories about Ipswich?
Yes, go to historyoutthere.com. I'll upload this story first thing tomorrow morning, but there's 300 short stories there, historyoutthere.com. And Danny, I should give a big shout out to our listener, Julie, who is listening at Kenmore right now. She never misses your show and loves the history story. So, hello, Julie. Keep listening. And
Julie, why don't you do an arc on the historyoutthere.com Facebook site? Do you? Arc. Good on you, Julie. Thanks for listening out there at Kenmore, and thank you, Harold the H, for your wonderful story right here on West Bremer Radio. The time now is 8:20.